computer. And it is recording. Okay, so welcome everybody to the Core Modules Developers Group meeting of the 2nd of August 2018. We have with us Daniel Varadas, me, Joe Craig, Mike Smeltzer, Clint Patterson, Sebastian Leopold, David Poindexter, and Ernst Peter Taminga. So I'm going to skip reviewing the previous agenda because anyway we copy it over to the finished business or unfinished business here, so kind of saves time. So on this week agenda in the finished business section, we have resolved the questions we had about Active Directory, the branching process, and the maps module. On things that are unfinished or that may be finished on this meeting, we have the forums, active forums, contributing file, roadmaps on modules, AppVeyor, and the gallery module. In the new business section, I didn't put a lot of stuff because I think we have enough ongoing stuff to not add too much. The only thing I've put is I would like to get some statistics on module usage so we can discuss what solutions we have. Is there anything that people want to add or comment on the agenda?
Nope.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's start with what's done.
Actually,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm just catching up on it. I do have one thing that might be worth talking about. I don't know what we really call it, but potentially a new issue template for documentation-related requests and just documentation in general. I think we've had some conversation about like what models to use for that, whether it's using the Wiki or whether it's using GitHub pages or whatever else. So that would be nice to talk about.
Awesome, that's added. Okay, so on things that are resolved. In the technology advisory group, we had a discussion regarding the case right now is the Active Directory authentication provider, but also for the future. Basically, what do we think is acceptable to recommend as a replacement if some module is no longer maintained? Glanton wanted to document on that it could be upgraded to their module, but it's a commercial module. And that got refused. So what they said, they would provide a free module, but at that point they had no intention to make it open source. So that fired up a little discussion, and the result of that discussion is for recommending a module as a replacement for a core module, it needs to meet a couple criteria. It needs to be, let me just add here, criteria for recommending a replacement for a core module. And I mean by that publicly recommending something and writing it on the actual module documentation. The module needs to be given to the DNN community to make sure that there's nobody coming back and pulling the thing out or something. Second criteria, it needs to be open source. And the third criteria, it must have no branding from any particular vendor. So with this criteria, if Glanton wants to offer something as a replacement for the community module, they would have to either work on the existing one or provide one that would be open source and given to the DNN community. Then we can write on the old Active Directory provider that this is something we do recommend. If they don't want to do that and they want to market their module, then the best we can do is to put a link on the old one to the store saying that there are other modules available to replace this one. Please go in the store. But that link could not be to a specific vendor. It would have to be generally in the store. So any comments on that, or everybody agrees?
I think it sounds good.
So if somebody does have some, to make sure I understand, so if somebody does have something that is branded, in order for it to be considered a community module, they would have to remove that branding and relaunch it under without the branding. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for something to be a community module, it has to be given no strings attached to the community. That was the general discussion that was there.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. Now, if you have something free that replaces a core or another community module that is no longer maintained, you're free to market it the way you want in the store. But we will not link to that one because there's more than one vendor. So in order to not get anybody mad, we can put a link to the store, search the store for an Active Directory module. And yeah, it could be that there's only one vendor and you have no choice, but it could be now or in the future that there's more than one vendor. So do not favor any specific one. It would have to be generally linked in the store. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we also resolved the branching process and everything. Last time we spoke about it, and every maintainer is free to do it the way he wants, just if there's anything special to document it properly. And we also discussed the maps module. There was no interest at that point in continuing to upgrade the existing module. Yeah, so right now this one is abandoned. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in the new business. I'd like to get some statistics on module usage. If we see that, nobody uses that, we could just stop maintaining it and that's it. So we'll see where that goes, but for now we can leave it there in case someone wants to work on it. And unfinished business. Okay, we got on the last meeting the script to upgrade from forums to active forums. That needs to be tested with some data. And right now, this week was very busy. I had no time to create data and test an upgrade. So that's still to be done. If anyone feels like tackling that, it's open to anybody for testing. And I also I got a reply from Joachim Anderson, which is on the Active Forums repository, and he asked me to contact Seth Follickman, which I did, and I still didn't get a reply on that. That was about a week ago. So that's still on hold for now. Last week we spoke about writing a contributing document so people know how to clone the repository, make a nice pull request, and how to build and package and everything. That's also still to be done. Did anyone work on that? I don't think so.
Sorry, you were very quick regarding forums. Did you contact Ilpo? Is he still wanting to contribute to the original forums module?
I contacted Joachim.
No, I'm talking about the Coordien and forums module, the old one, because there was one guy from Finland, Ilpo Juvander, who provided lots of maintenance during the past days just to make it keep it alive for those who don't want to migrate.
I didn't catch you very well there.
Sorry. The original forums module.
Yes.
Yes, it was officially sunsetted a couple of years ago, but during the past year there was one guy from Finland. His name is Ilpo Juvander, and he provided several fixes to make it run on DNS7. So the question is whether you contacted him as well. Because
No.
it might be helpful if he wants to just maintain the old one. I think it would still be a benefit for some people in the community.
Okay, can you get me his name and written somewhere?
Yeah.
Or are you in contact with that person? Is that someone you know personally, or?
Yeah, he is. I think I have him on my friends list on Facebook. He attended one or two DNN Connect meetings in the past, coming from Finland by motorbike.
Okay, would you be able to get in touch with him and get him in Slack or something?
Yeah, I try to contact him. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Sebastian will contact. What's his name?
Ilpo.
Ilpo?
Yeah, see it in the chat window.
Oh, I don't have the chat window. That's why.
Click on the orange button.
More. Haha. Chat. Okay. Great.
If he's finished, his name is probably like 47 different characters, and Ilpo is just a nickname. And I could say that because I lived in Finland 4 months, and they even gave me a nickname.
Who's making popcorn?
Clint, if I understand, you're not allowed to go and visit him personally. Is that right?
For 1 year, I was banned from Finland.
Oh.
That has expired.
Ah, good.
Okay, no problem. So in 2 weeks, we'll check what's the update on that. Okay, on last meeting, we talked about writing a standard contributing MD file in the general repository as a template, and then it could be modified on a per project basis if there's any special cases. I did not have time to work on this. I don't think anybody started on that either.
I think in the chat, EPT said that he would take a pass at the first draft on that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, for the branching, basically, either it's only a branch or it's one development and one master. That's kind of standard. And if there's anything special that's not either one or two branches, then this would need to be documented. The currently that do not meet the requirements we just spoke of. No, all the modules that are currently in the community, DNN community repository, are all MIT licensed. Some of them have copyrights, DNN or .NET Nuke, or some of them portals. What was it before DNN portals?
Oh, you're talking about Sean's company?
Yeah.
Perpetual motion, right?
Perpetual motion, yeah.
But anyway, we went over that, and I think was our first or second meeting, and everything was MIT, so there was no concerns about that.
Who is the current the new owner for all the updates you do? Did you consider, or did you decide who will be the new owner for all the modules? Will it still be the DNN Corp, or will it be the .NET Foundation, or?
No. One thing that was discussed in the technology advisory group was that the DNN community organization belongs to DNN Corp. So that was true.
Yes, but the question is, of course, DNN, I think the intellectual property was handed over to .NET Corporation. David, do you know about?
Yeah, so the licenses that are in place are still the licenses that was there. So that doesn't change. The only thing that changes with the .NET Foundation involved, I think they are literally the copyright holders at this point, but it doesn't mean that we have to change anything in the licensing.
So by extension, if it's copyright DNN, it's copyright .NET Core.
That's my understanding, but yeah, that's That's
I
what
think the legal entity .NET Corp was acquired by ESW. So if it's still owned by .NET New Corp, then it's now owned by ESW. If it's owned by .NET Nuke, that's not really an entity. And I think the intellectual property of DNN was handed over to .NET Foundation. I think that's something we should make clear and get the proper information, and then this should be applied to these modules as well.
So I know the DNN platform has been transferred ownership, right? But we can't just change the licensing of these. Is my point. It is what it is. So we could fork it and license it under something else, but you have to abide by the license that's been in place for all these years. So
Okay.
it's a non-discussion, in my opinion.
Okay, then, so Mitch needs to discuss it with Andy. Okay, I see.
Yeah, that's my opinion too, that it needs to stay the way it is. However, I'm no legal expert, and I've brought up that issue a couple times, and it looks like it's not an issue. So
Okay.
unless we hear from someone that this needs to be worked on, I think we've done our due diligence to identify the situation. So if nobody replied that there was an issue there, I guess we can leave it as is for now.
Yes, sure. But as I said before, we should talk to Mitch, and he should discuss with Andy what would be the best situation for the future, because maybe ESW doesn't want to keep this intellectual property on these modules. They don't do anything with it.
Okay, I can add the note here to on the next tag meeting.
Yeah.
To just ask Mitch if, is everything fine? Do we leave it as is? Do you want to double check anything?
Okay. Yes, please.
Okay, so okay, awesome. So we have this. And APT will start writing a contributing MD, right? Okay, I know, just I'm looking at the chat, I know the intellectual property, I did write to Ash about this, and it didn't seem like to be any concern.
Yeah, but of course it's now the best situation to discuss it, what it should be in the future.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will have to edit it multiple times.
Okay, I'll poke him again to see Mitch and Ash. Just
yeah, first Mitch. Hmm?
But I think that was okay. Okay, so roadmaps on modules. The last time we discussed, oops, that's not what I wanted. Last time we discussed having version numbers before a release, so basically as milestones. So I know it's been done in a couple of modules, so issues, milestones, what? I know EPT has been working hard on the events module yesterday and today. Do we have issues, milestones? There we go. So basically, yeah, we create a milestone for the next, stabilization release and for the next feature release. and then we can add tags on that. So that's being implemented. Everything is doing good there. AppVeyor, Andrew wanted to give us a demo or start implementing AppVeyor on the Wiki module. He was not able to attend this meeting, and there wasn't much. He got busy too this week, so that did not advance much. So it's going to move on to our next meeting. And this week I've been working on the gallery module, which is not a fun one. So basically, the C# conversion is done. There's some issues with null in the settings that needs to be, well, the VB to C# conversion didn't went very well, and there's a lot of manual things to verify. And it was using a pop-up menu over the images and over the albums. That pop-up menu was using the DNN menu, and I tried to replace that with DDR menu, and I didn't like the results. So I think I'm going with straight buttons for that, because anyway, a menu that expands on hover is not really mobile friendly, so I didn't like how it used to work anyway. So I think I'm going with a bar of buttons. That's going to be the quick and mobile-friendly solution for that. So I hope by the next meeting I have this one DNN 9.2 compatible.
Hey, Sebastian, could you mute, please?
Oh, sorry. Just a second.
No problem. So in the sheet that I had here, that's basically all the core modules and their status if they are on GitHub. Some of them are still on Codeplex. So basically I was going down the list unless there was something special. So that's why I started working on the gallery one. So what's left until we can say that all the core modules are DNN 9.2 compatible is the help module, which should be quick. The map module, which we so far decided it was not worth it. And then the store module, which I wouldn't think there's a future for that one, but I'd like to get some statistics to see if anybody's using that. The survey module should be very quick, and the users online, I'm not even sure if you want to do that because of GDPR and because of API changes. So we're near.
I think users online should be easy, and I know that there's a module in the store which just has a modernized UI for the users online, and the users online interface is still, or the API should still be in place. So maybe there's only missing the activate option in the site settings or host settings, but in general, I think this should be really easy. Survey might be even more difficult because it hasn't been taken care of for maybe 10 years or something.
Yep. But they're small modules. They shouldn't be very hard.
And users online, it's not a GDPR issue. It can be, but it depends on the use case. So in some places, if you, for example, if you're an association, a private association like DNN Connect, and you simply display the names amongst the members, and you put it into the membership form, then it shouldn't. The people have to agree to it. Then there should be no problem.
Yeah, and not everybody needs to be GDPR compliant either. Not all countries, not all, right.
So I know a couple of sites of clients of me who really loved users online, while survey wasn't used for, I think last time I used it, it's about 8 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, but I know I have clients on very old websites that use it, and even the survey module, I have it in use by some clients that want to do a quick survey without, going SurveyMonkey and all that. And that's, I know they're used. And some surprising stuff, like the announcements module is very, very popular, but I thought it would be on small sites that have no budget to buy something better than that. But I got an email today of a huge site that uses that, and I was like really surprised. And they're trying to upgrade. They got a little issues, but it should work on 9.2. But I'm looking into those issues, why the upgrade didn't go fine. But some very basic modules are used by huge websites.
Yeah, but even announcement for many places, if you have an intranet, even for a larger company, where you simply need to, where each department needs to display its what's new in the department, and announcement module is totally fulfilling all the needs. So that's fine.
Yeah. So that's the current status. So it's progressing because it was almost all red, and we did a lot of progress in this.
I would be more concerning whether it makes sense to put a lot of effort into health or map module, because those modules haven't been around for a long time, and as far as I know, they have been very, very little used. I got very little help requests in the forums on them, and so
Yeah.
in my opinion, those should be pushed back. Maybe at the moment, if you don't have lots of resources, those, in my opinion, are not as important.
Yeah. Because we have to kind of distribute our time between what we would like to bring back to life and what we would like to maintain. So if we spend a lot of time bringing back things to life that are not used, that's time we could use in fixing other issues on the ones that are used. So
that's what I think. And Store is a little bit is a very complex module, for example. But I know that there are lots of sites were using it. I don't know how many of sites are still using it, but according to the stability of DNN users, I could imagine that there are still a few hundred sites, or maybe even 1,000 sites, still using the old Store module.
Yeah,
or derived modules from it. So
and then that was forked by Gilles Lepigochet, and it was a little bit maintained after the move from Codeplex.
Yeah, Gilles was the lead developer of that module when it was separated from the core. So he is the one who was really keeping it up and trying to extend it for nearly 10 years. So it might be worth contacting him. But as far as I know, he left the DNN enterprise very unsatisfied a couple of years ago. So I'm not sure whether he's still working on it, but I have a friend who worked with him on the module, and maybe I can try to get in contact with him and ask about the status of Gilles and whether there's a chance.
Yeah, if you could get in touch with him, it would be nice. The last activity I see was like April of last year, and I don't see much commits. I think it's straight out of...
Yeah, for sure. I think he just wanted to make sure it doesn't get into the bin with Codeplex, together with Codeplex. But yeah, I try the best I can to get in touch with him.
Okay, awesome. Pikachu, I think. Pikachu, yeah. So...
Yes, Timmy was from France.
Awesome. Okay, so on the new business side of thing, I had until like half an hour ago nothing here because I thought there was enough stuff on standby. But as I was waiting for people to join, I just thought to talk a little bit about statistics about module usage. So One statistic I took was the download count. That was when I created the sheet, so probably about 2 months ago. I went one by one without using any API, and I just went into the insights to get a download count. So if I go by that statistic, why can't I sort? Here. So the ones that we know have been downloaded, events is a very popular one, blog. So blog, I think we should try to focus as a group, maybe to reduce the number of issues and to do something about the existing pull requests, because it's very popular and it has a lot of, I don't know if it's still current, but if I go, uh, 41 and 7, and here I have 41 and 7. Yeah, so that's still current. So maybe that would be a focus area, because it's the second most downloaded one and it's the highest in the amount of issues and existing pull requests, and they have been here for some time, those pull requests. So that would be something we should work on. Form and list, that I know for me, it's one that I use a lot. So that looks right. It was worked on recently. Iframe, I didn't think it was used that much. So yeah, so that's one statistic we have. However, it's worth what it's worth, because different modules got on GitHub at different dates. So does it have more download counts because it's there since the start and this one got there a couple of weeks ago? We don't know. So that's one indication. Another indication, I was just preparing while I was waiting for people to join. Yes.
I converted all the core modules from Coplex to GitHub all at the same time, maybe a couple of weeks in between. So the download counts for all the different modules are roughly from the same time that I converted from Coplex to GitHub.
Okay, so except the ones that we moved after making this sheet.
Yes, right. When I did the move from Coplex to GitHub, I looked at the last activity of the different modules. And if some of the modules were not maintained for, let's say, 2 or 3 years, I decided not to create repositories on GitHub for those very old, non-maintained modules. But you have brought back a number of them in the last couple of weeks.
Cool. So I think some of them, like the documents, was on Mitchell Seller GitHub, and then it got moved here. So this one, probably the download count is
right.
Not.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it gives us one data point that we can check, knowing that most of them were there at the same time. Another thing that we could do, while I was waiting for people to join, I started creating, I think it's free for 1 or 2 questions, SurveyMonkey. I don't know how that works with free. It's the first time I use it, but basically I'm creating a survey with multiple answers. And I'm going to put this on Slack and maybe a blog post or something, just for people to come here, tick the ones that you use, that you have customers that use, and that you know people around you use them on any version of DNN. Just tick it, and we can see if there's anything that has 0 ticks, like just that's not worth wasting time on them. So that's something I'm working on now. Another data point that we may have, it's still in the talks, but DNN has a tick box when you install it to provide anonymous statistics to DNN, and it's still in discussion, but we may have anonymous statistics on installed modules. So it's not because it's installed that it's in use, but it would be another indication of how many of these modules are in installations. And then maybe we can aggregate those 3 pieces of information and be able to sort the popularity of those modules.
you don't only get the point when it's used, but whenever the site, I think, starts up, there's a ping for every module to the mothership, which version is current and whether there's a new version, so to able to show up, able to show up whether there's an update for each module. So this statistics should be covered by DNN Corp as well at the moment.
Yeah, the only thing that we were discussing is that I think the way it works, it only indicates if it's installed or not. It doesn't indicate if it's on any page.
Yes,
so you could have it installed since DNN4, all of them, but you haven't used any of them. So that's the statistic may be misleading. We don't know.
Yeah, sure. Because if you have the history of DNN until I think 5.0, it was common that all these modules got shipped and installed automatically, which were shipping with DNN. And then next step was that they were shipped but not automatically installed. And I think in 5.5 they were ripped out, so you would have to download and install them separately, and that was when they were declining.
Yeah. Not monkey. So yeah, so we do have those 3 data points to give us an idea. Survey monkey. So we'll see how that goes for Survey monkey, if it's nice or if we can use something else. I don't know, but that would get a pulse from everybody. Anything else to discuss regarding statistics?
Do you have the repository module on your list, or?
Yep.
What's the status of it at the moment?
Yeah, it should be there. Yeah, the repository. It's going to be in the survey, and it's also in the. It should
Just wanted to know.
Type in reports. Repository. So you see, repository has no data here because this one was moved to GitHub after the creation of this worksheet, and it's not connected with any API or nothing. I just manually punched in this. So if we go check now.
Is it on GitHub?
Yeah, it's on GitHub, yeah. That's one that was brought to
because
life.
I know that the last version of it was only published on gooddocs.com. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that one was brought back to life in the past month, I think. If I go into Insights now and I go traffic, no, I think it's in releases or something. Where was it? Commits, deletions, additions, traffic.
The question is, did you move the latest version or just the latest version?
Yeah, the latest version, and it was also worked on.
So that's the did you get in contact with Steve Fabian and make sure that you got the latest version? Because I know that he, as far as I remember, the latest version were only published on his own website. That's why I'm asking.
Okay, no, I don't know about that. Maybe he has
Peter,
a better version.
Know? And Peter, do you know?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. No, I don't know.
Okay, because I know, as far as I remember, the latest version were only published on Steve Fabian's gooddocs.com site, and I'm not sure whether he was still working on it or not. And I know that this is a little bit problematic module, and so that's why I'm asking.
Was it Jovender?
No, that's from Steve Fabian.
Okay.
From the US.
Well, I don't know where I got that download count in releases.
In the releases section, maybe?
How did I get the download count?
There is a special website, I'm not sure where it is, where you can just enter organization and repository, and it will give you the statistics.
Yeah, I think I went here to get it. I don't know how I did it, but
if you just recently uploaded it, this won't tell us whether it's being used on many sites or not.
I remember getting that manually. Releases.
Maybe you need to click releases and then you get the individual ones. Oh no, okay. Sorry.
Anyway, that would, I need to find how I did it. I don't remember now, but there was a way here to see it. And I know there was a website to get some additional stuff. Maybe it was on that website. I don't remember the site now.
Well, that's just a question.
So,
I know that this module has some strange implementations where you have some module settings which have hard-coded folder paths, server-side folder paths, and stuff like this. So it's not a trivial one.
Yeah, and I think there was an issue regarding Azure folders, repos.
Yeah, at the moment, I wouldn't really recommend using it to anyone.
This year, there was an issue here regarding relative paths, and there was an issue.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
The discussion right now was maybe to hard code those folders, make them relative and not user editable.
But the guy you wonder that should be ILPO, the guy we talked about before.
Okay.
Just as an information.
So if you have anything that you think should be done in a specific way, maybe comment on that issue.
It's a general issue with this module, not specific to Azure, but I know if you move your DNN from one server to another and you don't have the same relative path on your absolute path on your machine, then it fails. So there's some specific caveats with this module, and I'm not really recommending using it unless you have a very special need.
Okay, but someone who would have that module on his site and would be upgrading.
Yeah, of course. Well, for him it would be helpful, but not for if someone looks for a documents module. I'm not very keen on suggesting to use this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't use that on a new project for sure. What's the name of the person you suggest getting in touch with?
That's Steve Fabian.
Sabian?
Steve.
Eve, like this?
Steve.
Steve,
yeah. Fabian.
Like this?
Look in the chat window.
That's right. You got too many
Just
E's.
too many E's.
Steve. Well, it's not Steve, it's Steve.
It is Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
Okay, so I'll try to get
Danielle,
in. Yes.
Danielle, if you look in the chat window, you will see a link to a web site that gets the statistics from GitHub using the Git API.
Awesome.
So you filled in here DNN community and then your repo. No, you have to fill in the community. The upper one is community, DNN community.
Okay, and then you have to go repo by repo.
DNN.links or whatever.
The one we were looking at was
It's Sebastian again, I think. If you can mute, that'd be great.
Sorry, I'm not doing anything.
I feel like eating popcorn now.
Yeah, it's like it does sound like somebody popping popcorn.
Hey, it's gone now.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So I'm gonna bookmark this. And I'll get back to it to update the worksheet. And I'm gonna make a new column to see the difference between when, like 2 months ago, that sheet was made and now. But yeah, there was like 23 downloads. And that was released like not even 1 month ago. So almost 1 download per day. Okay, so documentation and issue templates.
Can I make a little remark? Has anybody of you got any experience in working with the GitHub API? Because it enables us to get a lot of information about the different modules, download count, commits, and so forth, in order to produce statistics on other sites. But it's a special query language, GraphQL. I have no experience with it. I just played around with it.
So it's not a REST API? It's some other API?
Yeah, it's a REST. No, it's a REST API with a special query language, and you get JSON back. So it should be very straightforward to get information from the different items. Also, was thinking about getting the information and using it if you want to publish something more actual information on dnnsoftware.com or anywhere else.
I wonder if it would be helpful to have those stats surface through a mobile app.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, I have no experience, but it looks interesting to have that information for sure.
I'll be happy to take a look at it. If you guys think it would be good through a mobile app experience, I could probably whip that out pretty quickly if it's not too difficult.
I was thinking more in integrating it with what Ernst made for listing the modules.
Yep.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, good point. Yeah. I agree.
That was my idea, because the listing that I made on dnetconnect.org is just the starting point. So I get the primary links to the different repositories, and later on I want to enhance it and get some more statistics about the modules itself, release notes, version numbers, and so forth.
Yeah, because we could have a link that goes directly to the latest official release, that's not a pre-release. And we could have, sort them by popularity or,
Right. Yeah.
Does open content have the ability to pull information back via an API, or I'm not familiar with open content. So
no, I'm not so familiar with that as well. But there's a possibility to have Razor scripts in there. But for me, it's just a starting point. If you want to make a dedicated module with the normal tables and normal programming, it's possible as well. The first step is just collecting the information for the base access to the different repositories, some basic information about the different modules in there. That's the starting point. But any point in time, we can just export the data that's now in open content and then start using it in a more elaborate, dedicated module.
Do you have to be an owner of the repo in order to access that data via the API? Or
no.
Okay.
No.
Well, I could play around in Postman and see if we can, get the API information. If it looks pretty straightforward, I could start looking into open content and see if there's a way to tap in, or I can talk to Timo maybe.
Yeah. Timo's on holiday and working on his home in France, so he's probably not responding directly, but he knows a lot about open content. Yeah.
Yes.
But if you want to make it.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I've used open content too a bunch. And there's nothing really behind the scenes that would give you any benefit in tapping into the API. But if you want to do it through JavaScript and things like that, and the Razor files.
But the open content is just a starting point for me, because it was very easy to set up an entry form and get a listing nicely formatted. If we want to use the data and put it in the table and then create our own module with it, it's fine for me. It's just a starting point.
Yeah, I think you could use it, like you said, as a starting point or expand on it. There's flexibility there to do it. I don't see any extra benefit in open content though, but by all means, you could definitely do it inside of it and save some time too.
Yeah, I was just thinking, since it's already built in that might be nice if we could actually surface this information from the API inside of open content. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree. It'd be kind of cool. And we were having a discussion on Tag yesterday about connectors. Maybe there's, if this is a long-term thing, maybe we can move up a connector or something to tie in there as well. for the.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. So that still goes in the statistics. So APT, Mike, David.
The statistics on the module usage, that may also be interesting to the awareness group as they're talking about building out dashboards. You know, like if you imagine a new DNN site or updated community site, you know, where you see like pull requests to the platform, forum post, blah, 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 and then you can see like just usage of modules, right?
Right. Correct.
Yeah, totally.
Agree.
Okay, so regarding documentation and issue templates, who mentioned that? It was David, right?
Yeah, there had been some conversation about like what documentation really should look like, or what format we should use for some of these open source modules, or all of them. And I think the two ideas currently on the table were using the built-in GitHub Wiki versus GitHub Pages, and we were talking about the pros and cons of each of those. Seems like most of the camp is leaning a little bit more on the side of the GitHub Pages, but there's some definitely good feedback talking about the wiki too. But I was just wondering if there has been effort so far on any of these. I know Ernst Peter had done some stuff on the events wiki there, but do we have a kind of a game plan? Because one of the big benefits of going to GitHub Pages is that people can make pull requests on the docs themselves, whereas on a wiki, you either have to open it up for anybody to be able to edit it, which could be problematic, or you just have to, whoever's owning the repo has to manage the documentation, right?
The modules I've moved, I went with Wiki because it was already half Markdown, and it was already on Coldplex, so it was little change. I'm not familiar with Wiki Pages. Ernst, you were saying something?
Yeah, I'm in favor of GitHub Pages because I think they're nicer to see. It's more like a normal website. And in essence, it's just a part of your normal repository. If you create a docs file in your master branch, you can specify the MD files there. There's some nice formatting available. There are some nice themes available. And if we want to, I think we can also create our own DNN community core module theme. I've seen the work that David has done for the Envisionate theme or the quick site. It really looks nice. So I think it's a better way for end user documentation. And go ahead.
I'm sorry, I unmuted accidentally.
Okay, and I think for me, I've made this wiki, or I had some employee of me make this wiki for a year, but I don't think many people will find it. And if you create GitHub Pages, it's essentially a separate website, which is nicely indexed, nicely formatted. It looks a little bit more like a normal website, far better than the wiki.
The beautiful thing too is that, like this work that you have done already on the wiki, that can literally be, it can be cloned because it is kind of a repo in of itself, and this is all in Markdown. So you can actually take those files and move it over into the repo itself, into a docs folder. There's a couple of ways to do it. One way is to put it in a docs folder within the repo, and then you point your GitHub Pages to that. Once you have everything configured, literally all of this documentation that's already there can already be there. The only challenge comes into building the navigation over on the right, which I've had some experience with trying to figure out on the MV Quick theme. But I'd be happy to try to help set up a model on whatever one we want to try first and see how it works and get everybody's feedback and kind of go from there.
Yep, in favor.
I've got to jump off here for another meeting, but appreciate it.
No problem. Have fun.
Oh, same here. Sorry. Thanks, Clint. Well, you guys let me know if there's anything I can do to help on that. I'll be happy to help set up one so everybody can kind of see it or whatever, and
Yeah,
see if we can make a decision on standardizing the documentation.
basically it would be a documentation folder with HTML and CSS, normal website stuff, right?
Or Markdown and some additional things, like it uses Jekyll for the build process locally, but the files are just simple. For content is just either Markdown or HTML. We like Markdown because it makes it easier for people to contribute to. They're already used to it in issues and so forth. So,
would anyone have time to do a small sample on a small module?
I will transfer what David said. I will transfer one of the wikis that I've done for, I think, reports or events, and create GitHub pages in there. I have to have some support from David for the navigation, but I will find it out. Otherwise, I'll make some questions about it.
Yeah, I'd be glad to help you with that. And if you need with especially the navigation, because you have to modify the Jekyll files and stuff like that. So.
Okay. And I probably can peek into the quick site thing.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll show you where the template is for that, and you'll probably be able to figure that out. So,
okay,
pretty easy.
Awesome. So I'll write it here, and we can check in status in 2 weeks on that and see a demo. Okay. Anything else we want to discuss before I stop the recording?
Yeah, I made a suggestion to create automatic release notes based upon the issues and or pull requests. There are some tools around that can take the last release date and then gather all the information about issues solved and pull requests taken, and it will generate automatically a special format type of release notes. So that would be beneficial if we want to standardize the things, and they're probably going to save us some work if we want to do some publication about that. But I've gathered a number of tools in there. I've not evaluated all of them, but I review it, and I sent it, I think, to David as well, because he was interested in that.
Okay.
I like things to be done automatically in a standard format.
Yes.
That helps to be consistent over time.
Yeah, we just have to, there's a lot of stuff that not everybody's familiar with, so we just have to,
There's so many tools around GitHub.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if you can cook up for the next meeting some demo, and everybody knows, how to work with that, because I'm guessing there's a standard commit message that you have to do in order to have that.
If you make the titles of your commits or titles of your pull requests in a certain format, your release notes will probably automatically list it beautifully. But we can start with it. I'm not sure whether I can take the time for the next 2 weeks, because I have a number of things to do. But let's say in a month from now, I probably have tested a number of them.
Yeah, for me, everybody's a volunteer here. So I was just discussing with Andrew, who could not attend today, and we're nobody's gonna get fired for that. So
I know,
whenever we get to that, we get to that.
Right. Have you seen in the attendance, the participants list, that there's a new guy around, Erwin Jolenito from Indonesia?
So welcome aboard.
Oh, hi.
Yeah. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, my name is Erwin Yulianto. And I am from Indonesia.
Okay.
I've been pianist since 2007, but never been touched with the community. Just working on the background.
Excellent. Ernst, did you invite him on Slack too?
Yeah.
Is there everything good? Awesome. So welcome aboard. So anything else we want to discuss before ending the recording? Sounds good. So thank you everyone for attending. And our next meeting is going to be in 2 weeks from now.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. So